to another episode of what I'm doing with the Mini. I'm not entirely sure whether this is going to be a subframe or whether this is general car. It might probably equates more to a dry build of the engine bay. But yeah, just uncovered the old girl. And what you can see here is the aftermath of what I managed to do on my birthday. So I spent the day, played with the car. I've got these plates welded on for the engine steadies, these two here welded on for the subframe MOT bars, and then I stripped all of the original paint back to bare metal, borrowing a couple of little bits that I might investigate. There's a little tiny bit here that I had these pipes in place at the time, so yeah, I might pop them off and whiz it back and go again. Then I tidied up this front edge and bits around here where the carbs used to go. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with the box. I don't know whether to keep the bulkhead or whether to just flat panel it. I just can't decide at the moment. So yeah. So job for today. Plan is to get the subframe mounted in the car, bolted up as it would be ready to run, and then I can tack the front piece of the Owens strengthening kit in place, and I can also start looking at where I'm going to mount my radiator, so I can get gearbox in the hole, put a block on top of it, I can rest a head on top of that. I can start sort of building up roughly what the engine bay is going to look like, see how much room I've got to play with. Yeah, we'll see how that goes, and I'm going to throw you on a time lapse so you can watch what I get on with. Okay, so I'm pretty sure the time lapse won't show what an absolute pig that was. I've had 50-50 success with this in the past. I've got, I'll show you down here. I've got solid mounts to the floor here and here. I've bolted them through. I've had to go upwards with that one. I just could not align the holes. Didn't matter what I did. I slacked off mounts. I slacked off the top mounts. I slacked off everything so that it was all loose. It was just wiggling around. I tried wiggling it. Yeah, nothing was working. But anyway, yes, it's in. I'm gonna have a cup of tea. And then I can crack on with the next bit. Okay, as you can see, I've done a tack in the corner on top and bottom. Now I've decided to do a tack at the top of every point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What I'm probably going to do is, the way that the spacing works out, I'll do a one up to the edge here, and I'll go from edge to edge of the triangles. So there to there. So I'll go across the middle of these, and I'll do the opposite on the bottom. So I'll go along with the bottom of the triangle here, so I'll go weld to weld, weld to weld. I might even do all the way around to that edge from this corner. But yeah, that's nicely held in there. So now I've got to put a few things in the gap, as it were. So again, jumping on a time lapse, but I'm going to shove everything into the engine bay that needs to be there, and then I can start figuring out exactly where it's all going to go. I might have to go rummaging through some boxes, and there's a very good chance that as you watch this time lapse, you will see it start to get dark, because it's 8 o'clock already, sunset's in the 9s, so yeah, it's nice to get that on though, especially with the subframe held how it's going to be in the car. So yeah, onwards to the next bit. This is quite an exciting sight. For the very first time since I started this whole fun thing of converting to a 16 valve, there is a 16 valve head sitting in my car, albeit it has no cams, no valves, nothing. But it is a converted head sitting on not a converted block in an engine bay that's not ready for it. So I had a bit of trouble. I couldn't quite get the engine mount holes over this side to line up. Anyone who's ever done engine mounts on a Mini will know it's an utter pig, and you need every millimetre you can get. And because I have seam welded across the top here, this mount here is not sitting flush. It's being held off by that big ugly pile of weld. So yeah, while on this side here, I've flatted it down. I've got some more work to do. I was just going to smooth out the whole shape. But yeah, I haven't done that on the other side, so it's a bit of a pig, and I'm not chasing it too hard. It's a couple of mil higher than it's going to be, which means, you know, if this fits, I've got clearance. I'm happy. So the next bit is to see whether or where I can fit the Metro front radiator. I'm just going to show you this from a different angle. Not sure whether you could hear me on the last clip, but yeah, that's the kind of situation I'm going to be in with regards to clearance. So if I have the rad sitting slightly canted forward, there's just about enough room. I'm going to have to go digging through my box of bits. I want to get the manifold on, throttle bodies on, and the outlet of the water outlet, so I can start visualising the engine bay and see what comes of that. Yeah, more thinking required. Okay, a lot happened this evening, and not a lot of it was recorded. I had a friend turn up to sort of say hello, catch up for a bit, and he had a Mini. We ended up chatting. I ended up showing him some bits, and yeah, I've just got it all on the car now. So so if I shine the torch down there, actually, yeah, there's a fair bit of clearance to the radiator. Right now, it's not quite finger thickness, but yeah, I can move the radiator over a bit further if I need to. My intention was to have an easy disconnect arm of some description like this sitting on the top, maybe even over to the same point on the subframe, just so that I've got something stabilising the top of the rad. I only want it on one side really, get the bottom two secure and then another single one off the top, and that'll be enough. But I did some experimenting, and this is the water outlet for the BMW, and it ends up being exactly the same size as the Mark 1 Metro rad that I've got here. So I've positioned them so that they are more or less in line. So just a simple 90 out of there, a 90 out here, and a joiner between the two. That's that job done. The bottom hose would need to be over. I'm going to put another bracket on here. I've got an electric water pump, so I can fabricate some sort of mounting for that, so that this pipe comes around the corner into the water pump, and the water pump shoots it straight into the block. I've also got to find room for a header tank. There's a bleed off water pipe on the air bleed off here at the far end of the rad that would have to go off to the header tank. So I mean, it's nice to sort of see the the whole thing sort of coming together. I'm going to be brave in a minute as well. I'm going to see whether the round nose front fits on and what sort of clearance I've got. I'll have to dig around in one of my boxes. There's been a bit of chaos down there with box hunting, but I've got a couple of mounting poles that go here. I'm pretty sure that's the spacing I mounted these on. But yeah, I'll put them on there. If I have to take them off or make them bigger, I'll do so. And I can see sort of roughly whereabouts it fits in regard to the round nose front. Okay, so the inevitable question. Is it an inevitable question? The answer's going to be inevitable. Does this actually fit on those points? Yes, it does. There are. Come on. On there. And yeah, no way. Radio can come back though. And I'm about a couple of inches shy. Yeah, about 4 inches shy where I need to be. But angle wise, yeah, I'm miles out. There's no way I'm having this front. Yeah, there's no way round nose front is going to go with that one. I've seen people do it with Cinquecento rads before, but I mean, even that is pipe dream. There's just not enough room to have the rad sitting out that far. I am an inch beyond the end of the subframe. What was slightly concerning is it didn't feel like, height-wise, the round nose fitted either. Yeah, it's resting solid. Let's have a look. What's it resting on? Yeah, so resting on the bolts for the yeah, I can see that's where my bracket is. So to get a front rad in, that's some aggro, that is. I don't fancy that. No, Clubman front is the win. I guess if I needed clearance, I could probably tilt the engine back a bit further, but that's kind of where it sat when I last had the car running. Yeah, that's educational, that is. I'll get up here so you can see a bit better. So that is round nose flip front. I think I can lift that up a little bit this end. Yeah. That bolt stays within the cam cover. If I was going to use a low line specialist components one, God, it might just fit if I tilted the engine back a bit, but I mean, yeah, you're really clutching at straws to try and make that fit in there. There's plenty of room for the trumpets. Right, so before I go any further with the front radiator idea, I need a Clubman front. Yeah, I'm going to tidy up. I'm going to go to bed because it's 10:30. I'm going to have a little time to think about my next move with this, because it might be going to Mini Spares to get Clubman front pieces. Alright, I'm going to sign off for that. Thank you for joining me at this adventure. Sorry I didn't share as much with you as I hoped, but I hope this has been eye-opening for those planning to run 16-valve minis or planning to fit a front rad inside a round nose. It's tricky. Alright, good night.
I've just made a scarily big order at Mini Spares. Clubman wings, Clubman bonnet, Clubman front panel, a few other little bits and bobs, everything to get the front of the car done.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. It's at some point in the day. I'm looking after the kids today. It's a bit of a crazy one, but they're eating their lunch. We've had a nice morning out and had a bit of peaceful, quiet time for them. So I'm just doing some hardcore staring at the car. Picked up the Clubman panels yesterday, and I'm just going to do a quick trial fit. The initial trying to stick them together, sitting on the floor in front of the garage, didn't seem too successful. So I'm going to try and attach them to the car and then see how they look. So as you might be able to see, I've run into problems already. So that's the solid teardrop mounts I was going to put on, but what's happened is the fixing that they've welded on the back here isn't aligned with the hole for the bolt. So I try and put a 5/16 UNF in there because it looks like a UNF, but I can't get it to line up. I've managed to get it to go, this bad boy to go in a couple of turns in that way, but I can't get it to come through because the hole's out of the way. So these are M6, just something so I can try and line the front up on the car. So that I'll do these up tight, and they'll hold these vaguely in the right place. I can then at least put maybe something like an M8 through these holes and see how everything else lines up. I've got some short M8s, or I've got some longer M8s. So at least I've got, options. So I'll just do these up tight and then I'll try and get the front on the car. And this is an interesting way to visualise how much space you've got. I've literally got these solid mounts in here, bolted up nicely. I've popped the rad mount tabs off, but literally I can now, without the wings or the engine bay, I can see exactly how much room I've got to play with. I'm actually quite looking forward to this. Things I have noticed is I'm going to end up with a clearance issue here for the subframe MOT bar type things. So I'll have to cut a little relief around there. What's it like on the other side? Yeah, it'll be the same on the other side, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, they're largely within the from this panel here straight down, they're largely inside where the wings would go, so I'm not overly worried about that. Yeah, my main gripe was the fitment of the this bit here. You can see it's bent over and curled round. I wouldn't mind betting this isn't in the middle, because you've got nowhere near that overhang this end. Just something's not right with the placement of the light bowls or something, but I'll get a wing clipped on and then we'll see what it looks like. Alright, I've got the wing on, and from this angle everything sort of looks good. The fit on the A panel is going to be a little bit challenging. I have got a new scuttle to go on here because I actually blocked up the extra wiper holes and I don't like the look. And it had a pair of repair panels at each end, and again, I'm not overly keen on the finished shape in places like here. They were only they're only pattern panels, so I end up with a big gap in a few places. So I'll put a genuine one on here and hope for the best. But this is what I was talking about with the lack of fitment up here. So this panel here, the overlap goes over so far that actually it hits the corner of the surround and it doesn't let the wing sit where it needs to sit by quite some margin. I mean, I can't even get the gap here closed up. I mean, I could probably clamp it shut, but I'm putting undue stress on the body, and that's making the gap for the bonnet too big. So yeah, it's okay down the bottom here. See if I can get the other wing clamped on and then see where we're at. Okay, I've got the other wing on now, and again the scuttle bites, but the eagle-eyed of you will notice round nose inner wing panels, because this was a Clubman and I couldn't get Clubman panels, so I round-nosed a Clubman, somewhat sacrilege. But the difference is literally here, up. It comes along in a corner, from there, round the corner, and the inner Clubman inner wing just sits out further, up to here, and then goes over at an angle to there. So, easily rectifiable. I'm a bit gutted that I ever did it, but you know, is what it is. Did what I did. Still, the issue I've got on the fitment here, I mean, it's that front grille. This step here is absolutely abysmal. It's a little bit squiffy below this, but it's trying to marry up. I mean, the gap I've got at the top there with the gap here, there's a huge, this panel here has been basically welded in too high up, so everything's being stretched up. And I think this top piece here has been welded in too far that way. The whole sort of pulls in if I really have to put it over that far. But yeah, nothing quite lines up the way I think it probably should. The other warning sign to the top not being quite on straight is that piece there looks like it is kilted over at an angle a little bit, as if it moved after it was sitting on the jig. So yeah, I've spoken to Mini Spares. They're happy to take this one back, and I think I'll buy individually the lower panel, these two light bowls, the top panel and the brace, and I will then individually weld them in myself, because yeah, it's one of those jobs where I guess the alignment on the front of the Mini is fairly unique to each Mini. They were built with tolerances of a small mile, so indeed, much thinking has to occur.